Are you ready for the heavyweight championship of the world? Are you ready?
Hey, welcome to Unanimous Corner, bringing you another episode of Unanimous Decision. And today, who we talking to, Bill?
Hey, you heard what he said, Unanimous Decision. That's our exclusive interview series. And today, we have a good one. I always say it, but today, man, I'm telling you, we bring in the heat. This guy is a Grammy Award-winning musician. He hails from Los Angeles, California. And he has worked with the likes of Chaka Khan, Whitney Houston, and Quincy Jones. He has a new single that's dropping this month. And I'm telling you, it is a banger. Today, we have none other than the saxophonist, Gerald Albright.
Ladies and gentlemen, let's get ready to rumble!
All right, Gerald Albright, welcome to the show. How you feeling?
I'm feeling great. Good to be here, man. Thanks for the invite.
That is awesome. You ready to step into this ring?
Let's do it.
All right, let's do it, man. All right, so hey, man, a lot of music coming from your camp. So G Stream 2 is a 3-song LP that has a powerful ballad, By My Side. It sounds like a blended mix of multiple genres. So this month it'll be released as a single. What was the thought process behind this album, especially By My Side?
It's interesting how this tune came to surface. You never know how musical inspiration is going to hit you. And I happened to be doing the Lake Arbor Jazz Festival a couple of years ago. And me and the band were at sound check, and I mentioned to a gentleman who I affectionately call Big Dog. His name is Chris Davis. He's done a lot of recording with me over the years. And he's also been a part of my live band for a long time. But I had just mentioned to him in passing, I said, you know, I'm almost finished with this EP. I'm two songs in. I need a real strong, soulful ballad that can kind of round out this project. And he started playing something on the keyboard right there on stage. And I was like, that's it. And we started going back and forth. So actually a good part of this song was composed right there at sound check before we performed that evening.
Wow.
And, you know, it's not many songs you write at sound check, and that's what makes this song very unique. And then once we finished and, you know, we finished the Jazz Festival, came home, got in the studio, we completed it. And it's one of my favorite tunes on the EP because I get a chance to really kind of dig deep into the soulful aspect of the horn and of the arrangements of the song.
Yeah. I urge all of our viewers, check that out. The EP is available on all music platforms, so please go and download that now. We're going to try to put a link in our description as well.
Please get that G string.
Check it out.
Absolutely. As I mentioned a little earlier, my father, he's a musician, trumpet and guitar, jazz trumpet, guitar, you know, blues and church or gospel, whatever we can call it. I know, you know, his special instrument to play, especially, I never saw him play the trumpet. I was too young at the time, but I remember the guitar. And just a few years ago, he purchased his Cadillac, I guess we want to call it that, the George Benson Ibanez, you know, the Cadillac. He said, "This is my retirement gift for myself." So that's what he, you know, he did that. So I have another family member, same thing, organ and drums. Yourself, saxophone and bass.
Yes.
It seems like a lot of musicians are multi-talented amongst different instruments. How did that come for you? And what is your feeling between the two instruments? Like what kind of feeling do you get with the sax compared to the bass?
Great question. Well, I started playing saxophone when I was about 8 or 9 years old. I started actually on piano before that, but I didn't like piano. You know, I was a young kid, and you know, I was thinking more about football and baseball, you know, with some of the friends in the neighborhood. You know, I didn't want to be sitting up, you know, practicing piano. But we had this old upright piano, man, and I was never prepared for my lesson for the following week. And so George Turpo, God rest his soul, who was my teacher at the time, told my parents, hey, we need to put Gerald on another instrument. He's not interested in this piano. And he happened to have an old saxophone in his garage that he himself played during his army days, his military days. And so the next week he brought this old saxophone unannounced to the next private lesson. And I was like, Mr. Turple, what is this all about? And he says, we're going to do something different today. And he opened up the case, and it was a black case with purple velvet. I remember that. And because it sat in the garage, you could smell the history in it, you know?
Yeah, yeah.
And so he took it out and he put it together, and he took the reed and he said, lick this reed, make it nice and moist. And I said, okay. We put it on the mouthpiece, and I made my first squeak, and that's what started the whole process on the saxophone. Bass, I learned in college. I went to see the Brothers Johnson during their heyday. Produced a lot of their stuff back in the day, and they were just doing hit record after hit record. And they happened to be coming to San Bernardino, California, which was right down the freeway from where I went to school at the University of Redlands. And so I went to see them headline this show, and I'm sitting front row center. I had great seats, and all of a sudden Louis Johnson comes up the center stage and he plays this incredible bass solo. And I'm like, I got to learn how to play this instrument. And so he was the direct inspiration as far as we playing bass. So what I did in the following days, I went back to the small campus of ours, and I talked to a couple of musician friends, namely a gentleman named John Jorgensen, who was toured with a lot of people. He's a great multi-instrumentalist in his own right. And I just asked him, I said, man, you got an old bass laying around that I could just kind of practice and kind of learn scales on? He said, absolutely. And he gave me this old hollow body Hofner bass, which Paul McCartney plays to this day, you know, when he was with the Beatles.
Oh, wow.
And, you know, I just sat in my dorm room and just kind of, I was self-taught. And then I started playing with little bands around the area. And it became, over time, a big part of my arsenal. And the thing I like about those two instruments, to answer your question, you know, I can really explore the soulfulness and the melodic aspect of the saxophone when I'm playing with an ensemble, but I can get deep and dirty and gritty with a drummer with the bass. So I have both spectrums and everything in between. And I just love both instruments, man. And every time I jump on one or the other, I still have a very deep passion for it, you know. So that's how it all came about.
Wow.
And speaking of your passion, like I love your enthusiasm for jazz music. So at one point in America, jazz was considered pop. You know, it was the most popular music genre. So it's, for me, it's always refreshing to hear artists like yourself touring to introduce parts of the world to jazz. So where are some places you haven't performed yet, but they're on your bucket list?
The first one that comes to mind is Brazil. I keep getting on social media a lot of Brazilian saxophone players hitting me up, asking me questions about what horn do I use, what mouthpiece, you know, what are my practice regiments and things like that. And a lot of them say, man, you got to come to Brazil. You have a plethora of fans down here and you've never been here. And so that's definitely one of the, you know, the places that I want to go. I've never been to places like Singapore. I've been to Japan, but I really want to explore Asia a lot more. I've been to West Africa, East Africa. I've been to South Africa. And I've been to Europe. I toured extensively with Phil Collins and Whitney Houston and a few others. But
just throwing out names, you just right now like it's nothing.
Oh man, talking about royalty.
You don't gloss over that, by the way.
Well, you gotta keep food in the refrigerator. You know what I'm saying? And but you know, nothing like travel, man. And music has afforded me that gift of travel where you know, I can embrace other cultures, and that in turn inspires me to write my music a certain way, because, you know, sometimes I play with African musicians and they have a whole nother connotation approach to an instrument versus what we do here in America, you know. So it's all nourishing musically, and I just love it. And there's no end. Awesome.
It kind of reminds me of with Dizzy Gillespie learning a lot of the rhythms and sounds of other countries.
The Afro-Cuban.
The Afro-Cuban, yes.
Yeah. He was one of the ambassadors of that, man, for sure. I love it.
Absolutely. You're always touring. very rigorous touring schedule. Hopefully make your way down to Tampa or Orlando one day.
Yeah.
How do you stay sane? How do you stay grounded? Any hobbies that you take part in?
Well, the first one that comes to mind, Bill, is golf. I love golf. In fact, I've gotten to the place now where both myself and other musicians, we actually travel with our clubs sometimes.
Okay.
If we know we're going to be in a city more than 1 or 2 days, we got to find a golf course somewhere. And so golf is kind of like the other side of me that really keeps me calm. I'm a nature boy by trade. And, I love the outdoors. I love wildlife. I live in Colorado, so that kind of gives you kind of a connotation of what I see life as. I really like natural overtone to things. And currently, by the way, it's snowing. I'm looking outside. It's snowing.
Oh, wow.
But, you never know what the weather's going to be in Colorado. But that family keeps me grounded. I'm blessed with a lovely wife, 2 kids, 2 grandkids. And, they keep me moving. They keep me young, keep me grounded, So I'd like to say that I'm pretty much living my best life these years, I'm blessed to be able to, after so many years and after so many saxophonists out there doing the same thing that I'm doing, I'm blessed to still be on the radio and in a lot of cases, #1 on the charts and the whole thing. And so I take it humbly, and I look at my life and sometimes I pinch myself and say, you're doing all right.
Yeah. And you'll be humble about it. I'll speak your praises right now to say that's not, even if you take the saxophone out of it, I think that's a remarkable career. So it does feel like entertainment. There's more of a microwave appeal to it now, where artists they only get to enjoy their 30 seconds of fame, and it's a wrap after that. With your long career, what advice do you have for longevity?
Well, there's 2 or 3 tiers of it. I mean, it starts with learning your instrument as best as you can. I mean, that's your brand, that's your sound. So that's what you're introducing to your audience, your livelihood, everything, because that is the main artery to everything, and then it's really about being unique as possible. You don't want to clone another saxophonist, another instrumentalist that has done that particular sound. You want to bring something new to the table or something different to the table. And then the third tier for me is learn the business of music, really learn how to choose the right managers, the right entertainment lawyers, the right booking agents, learn how to read contracts. And, the thing that kind of hovers over all those tiers is never put all your eggs in one basket. That's why we play multiple instruments. That's why I like to write songs, produce songs, tour with other people, play with different musicians. I mean, you're always massaging your inner self and your career just to make you a better person and a more experienced person in this crazy business of music,
And everything you said translates not just to, a bandmate, like not just to instrument players, but even just singers, like with their voice being an instrument as well. It's just learn your craft, respect your craft. So that speaks volumes.
Absolutely.
Yeah. And hearing how you just spoke about not somebody, I guess, in another artist who you listen to, you try to emulate, but like you said, you want to be your own. And I know one of my favorite jazz pianists is Thelonious Monk.
Good choice.
He is definitely his own.
Oh yeah, no doubt.
I'm playing off key on purpose. I'm gonna hit something that doesn't make sense to you guys, but he was Sean at first, but he became a musical genius.
Yes.
Revered as a musical genius. So I definitely understand what you mean by, creating your own sound, making, being who you are.
Oh, absolutely. I mean, for me, if I had to define my musical bookends as far as saxophonists, it would be Maceo Parker, James Brown Band, and then Cannonball Adderley. Those are the 2 guys that really inspired me initially, but then, you got your Grover Washingtons, your Ronnie Laws, your Earl Bostocks, your Stanley Turrentines, all these guys spoke to me through their instruments as well. But I never, Bill, to your point, I never tried to clone them. I didn't learn all of Cannonball and all of Maceo's licks. I tried to get seasonings of each one of their sounds, and then put that in my own pot of gumbo, mix it up, and bring out something different. You know, that's basically how I approach the horn. You know,
wonderful. Shaka Khan, Whitney Houston, Quincy Jones, and a plethora of others you've worked with. Yes. Have you ever sat back and was starstruck? Had a what am I doing? I'm not supposed to be here moment.
Yes. That happened. Well, you know, it really happened with all those that you mentioned, but you know how you have to try to be cool about it, you know?
Yeah.
You know, you can't just go and go, Whitney, you know. But you just have to be cool about it, man. And you pinch yourself and you go, wow, this is cool. I'm playing behind Whitney, who, man, let me tell you, she was the vocalist of our time.
Yeah,
you know?
the voice.
Oh my God, man. In fact, I tell a lot of people that during her shows, I would be standing over her right shoulder every night. And some nights she would be so on, and everything was so spiritually aligned that I would get into what she was doing vocally and sometimes miss my part of music that I'm supposed to be playing with the band, you know, because I'm listening to her and she's like killing it. You know, and then I have to regroup and go, okay, yeah, I'm working. Yeah. But that's the way she affected me.
That's the starstruckness we're talking about as well. Too.
Yeah, that's you hit it right on the nail, man. And the other person who I was truly starstruck by was George Duke, God rest his soul. Okay. I was playing bass guitar with Anita Baker, and Anita and George had done songwriting and production together through the years. You know, George has worked with everybody, man. And we were at Constitution Hall in Washington, D.C., and she had George as her guest for the show. And I met him backstage, and, you know, I had never met him before. And all of a sudden, here's George. And I didn't know if he was going to be cocky, if he was going to be, embraceful. I didn't know, you know. And I went up to shake his hand, and he was just the nicest guy, man. And after a minute of talking to him, I felt like I've known this guy forever. Yeah. And it got to a point where I was recording with him on his records, and he did some TV themes that I did some stuff on, and we just played together in different smooth jazz cruises and things over the years, other recording sessions, and we got so close that he would call me son, I'd call him Papa G. And we made a running joke out of it. You know, it was just a spiritual thing between our friendship that just was really close. And then in turn, his wife became a dear friend and sister of my wife, Glennis. And so the four of us used to get together, and it was just a wonderful union of friendship. And you know, when I think back on George, man, I've never got over his transition some years ago of him leaving us. You know, he meant a lot to me, an awful lot. And ironically, you know, I called him Papa G. Now, years later, people are starting to call me Papa G.
You've adopted the moniker.
That moniker.
Yeah. I didn't ask for it, but people
the student becomes the teacher.
Yes. Things kind of go full circle.
Wow.
Full circle. I'm just blessed to have known George, man, and been able to have quality time with him.
It's nice that you keep his teachings alive. And actually, that's the cool, not just, I think that's the culture of jazz. There's a lot of inspiration there. Yes. I do want to talk about how jazz has fingerprints on every genre of music, in my opinion.
Yes.
So jazz inspires every musician. However, who inspires jazz artists? So who are some of your personal favorite artists?
Wow, that's a great question. You know, I lean to a lot of gospel, man. A lot of horn players go for the technical aspect of the horn. You know, how many notes can I play? And I try to create space and play the right notes at the right time. The same kind of approach that Miles Davis did with the trumpet. You know, in later years, when you heard him play, you know, he may play one note and rest for 8 bars, and then
overdoing it.
You know, he's telling a story at that point. He's not trying to rush through a lot of notes on the trumpet. Well, I try the same approach on saxophone. You know, I try to tell a story and let the musical ear live through the chapters of what I'm trying to convey on a particular tune, you know. So that's what happens in gospel. You know, when I listen to Marvin Winans or Marvin Sapp or Kirk Franklin or some of the old ones like James Cleveland and all those guys, there's a story there, and I need to hear the story. I need to feel the story in my soul. And so that's what I translate through my horn, or at least attempt to. And, you know, we're talking about the new single, By My Side. If you listen to that song, there's a lot of gospel changes in there. There's a lot of space in there, you know, and the song starts off very intimate, and then it builds to this full ensemble kind of thing. Well, that's the way I wanted it to be production wise. I wanted people to feel the beginning, the middle, and the end of what I was trying to convey. So, but yeah, gospel, I listen to, you know, I'm a diehard Earth, Wind and Fire fan.
Their horn section.
Yeah, I love the big bands. If you listen to most of my records, man, you'll hear a lot of horns.
Yeah.
And I just come from that school of experience. You know, I was in recording sessions with Earth, Wind and Fire and Maurice White on a lot of Japanese projects. And he always had this in your face approach to production. If you listen to the album called Faces by Earth, Wind and Fire from back in the day, I mean, from the first song to the end, man, it's just like the music is right here. It's just in your face, and it's honest and it's soulful and it's correct. You know, the notes, the harmonies, everything is just so satisfying. You know, so you know, gospel big bands like I call them big bands, but I mean big R&B bands, Cameo, Slade.
Those are big bands.
Yeah, you know, I come from that era, so I like
the Barge.
Yeah, exactly. And you know, I'm objective to everything. I even listen to classical music, you know.
I feel like that's the end of the big band era, in my opinion. Like the Cameo was the cutoff, and then they started the industry started moving away from that. But like you said, that stuff resonates with a young audience. Like I was born in '86. But I got introduced to Earth, Wind and Fire in the 90s, and that's when R&B is at its height. And then I'm listening to this organic music, and it sits well with me to hear that you were inspired by that. That's crazy, because I always think jazz is like the most influential part of Black music. But then everybody we interview, they've been inspired by gospel. So it has to be gospel.
It's just so, like I said before, it's so soulful. It comes from somebody's experience. When you listen to the lyrics of gospel, you know, the song Amazing Grace. Come on, man. I mean, every time I hear that, and if I hear it right, man, I got to man up. I'm you know, because
especially who is it? Aretha Franklin's version?
Oh my God.
Good.
I done heard about 5 or 6 versions where I gotta kind of, you know,
it's one of those songs. So gospel, I lean on that heavily, and gospel now, of course, I'm sure you know, has fused with pop. So when you listen to like the Marvin Sapp approach to gospel, or Kirk Franklin, you know, they have these live strings and horns and, you know, massive vocals. I mean, this stuff is like the old Earth, Wind and Fire stuff. It's just like in your face, and the message is there, but it's more contemporary, it's more modern stuff, you know. And I just love it, man. I just absolutely love it. Yeah.
You gotta love gospel, especially the big, like you said, the big sounds, even going back to where you say, like with Earth, Wind and Fire, the first song that popped in my head as far as that sound that hits you was In the Stone.
Woo, yeah.
It hits you immediately.
Yes.
That horn, and it, like you said, it starts and it just continues to build. Yeah. So that's the one that just popped in my head when I thought about it.
and there's many of them, you know.
Yeah, plenty.
It makes you wonder what was in the head of a Maurice White to, you know, to really, because he really.
I think that's the benefit of a band. It's the fact that it's a collaborative effort. It may not come from Maurice. It may come from a bandmate. When you have that much people in a recording session, I think the pros outweigh the cons.
That's a great point. Absolutely. Yes. Yeah,
true musicians.
Because even when you brought up,
the big thing about it.
Yeah, you were inspired by Maceo. There's a lot of James Brown records that would have sounded different if Maceo didn't check them and say,
"Oh,
hey,
absolutely.
How about we do it? Let's do it this way."
Oh, so, yeah.
I think that's the one thing missing in the industry now, because they've gone to a more affordable approach, but I think they're missing those organic experiences where somebody raises their hand and say, "How about let's try it like this?"
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, I mean, speaking with my father, again, like he's a jazz guy, and I learned when we interviewed Mark Whitfield, I didn't know Bobby Womack wrote Breezin'.
Yeah,
I thought it was George Benson.
Yeah,
the whole time, no one. I would have lost my entire life savings. I would have bet that it was George Benson.
Right.
I didn't even know that Bobby Womack was that kind of a musician, and you don't know and you learn.
Man, if you dig, you don't even have to dig deep, but if you go back to his era, man, he was on a lot of those recording sessions playing guitar, a lot of those hit records and stuff.
I feel like him and Sam Cooke are missing a biopic. Like it needs to come down the pipeline soon. Like, honestly, hey, Bill, I was in the same boat. I didn't know a lot about Bobby Womack's discography until I went back and did the research after One Night in Miami, and his name kept popping up. So don't feel too bad.
Yeah, yeah. Bobby was very prevalent in the music business, man.
Yeah.
And of course, another guy, soulful voice. When you heard him sing 3 words, you go, "Okay, that's Bobby Womack." You didn't
that voice.
He had that voice, that patent on that voice that just was unlike any other. And that's what I'm saying, about the earlier question that you asked about, having that uniqueness, that the unique approach to the music business, where if someone plays an instrument or someone sings, you go, "I know that brand."
Yep.
Yep. That's powerful, man, especially with the millions of musicians and vocalists out there. For somebody to pinpoint your sound, that's the greatest compliment in the world. Yeah.
And before we go, I do have one quick question for you, not to steal too much of your time. If you could create a quintet, past or present, you can go back to Bird, you can go back to Buddy Rich, you can go all the way up to Victor Wooten and whoever you want. Quintet, you got a sax, that's you. So we're gonna leave that out. I need a drummer, I need a bass, I need a lead guitar, and I need a piano. So I need four more.
And you're gonna narrow me down to a quintet.
We will narrow you down. We're accountable to only 5.
Wow. Oh,
past or present, you can mix that.
He's trying to create a big band. Like we said,
yeah, we go keep.
I'm already like 40 guys in.
It's gonna look like the picture from the Harlem when everybody lined up outside.
Exactly. I would say, okay, there will be different versions of it. But I would say, to answer your question, Herbie Hancock on keys.
Okay.
Drums. Woo. God, that's a hard one, man. That's a hard one right there. I would say, I'm gonna come back to the drums.
Okay.
On bass, I would say Stanley Clarke.
Okay.
Can I do an or?
Yeah, you could give it or.
Get your alternate.
Stanley Clarke or Marcus Miller. Marcus is one of my favorites. And I have to do an or on keyboards too. It's either Herbie Hancock or George Duke.
Okay.
Drums. Wow. I'm gonna say Steve Gadd and Harvey Mason. Yeah, Steve Gadd and Harvey Mason. But I mean, there's a list of drummers, man. But I mean, I like the melodic aspect of a Steve Gadd, but then Harvey has a real particular groove that I like, and I've had the pleasure to play with him both on bass and sax over the years, and he's got the it factor.
Okay.
And you said guitar, George Benson, whoo, and George Benson and oh my God, man. Okay, Bill, you got me on this one.
No,
How about your buddy Norman?
No, I was gonna say Norman Brown. Contemporary. But you know, Norman has a lot of George Benson in him.
Yeah.
You know, so
yes.
you know what I'm saying? So I was trying to go a different flavor. Wow, man. I mean, Lee Ritenour comes to mind.
Bill, you got him stumped because you
Yeah,
asked
I know,
for a
right?
quintet, and he gave us a decatet.
We're gonna have to leave a telephone number.
Right.
About 4 a.m. I got it.
Yeah. I'm gonna email you the quintet.
Yeah, there you go.
Yeah, he still gave us 15 names. I'm not mad at that.
I'm not mad at it, man. It's hard. It's like naming a starting lineup in basketball.
That's the beautiful part when you have a genre that's lasted this long. It's just hard to create a fantasy roster.
Yeah,
when it comes
really
to that.
is.
Yeah.
Hey, but we love the music coming from you. So what is a way folks could actually follow you on social media to keep up to date with everything that you got going on?
Well, the hub for me is www.geraldalbright.com. Everything you want to know about Gerald is right there, from social media to I have a website store where you could buy product. Several of my CDs and EPs for sale there. My bio is there, so my history's there. I have a photo gallery of people who I've played with and I'm friends with, and so that's really the hub. If you go to geraldalbright.com.
And I say this the most respectful way as possible. You remember when you said they took your teacher took out the sax and you could smell the history?
Yes.
Right. Man, I could smell the wisdom and history on you, and I'm saying that in the most positive way. So I'm gonna urge all of our viewers, go check out his EP. It's available on all music platforms. Take it from myself and Bill. Go ahead and download that link. A lot of history in the music. Just make sure you check them out. Bill, we got an opportunity to interview a legend today. What is a way that folks could give us their opinion on who we should bring on the show next?
Go to the comment section that we call My 2 Cents and leave your 2 cents. If you have any artists that you would like to see on the platform, just put it down in that, leave your 2 cents, put it in the comment section. And if you have any questions after downloading, again, we're going to reiterate, download, stream, purchase, go get that EP. I'm telling you, it's 3 songs. An album doesn't have to be 18 songs. Quality. Sometimes it's quality over quantity.
The better the album.
one of the greatest albums of all time has 5 songs on it, and that's Kind of Blue, Miles Davis.
Yep.
That's it. So please leave the comments in the comment section. Again, comment, subscribe to our channel, and like this video. Hit that notification bell.
All right, that is awesome. That is the best way you guys can show support. Make sure to like, comment, and subscribe. Outside of that, fellas, that is all that we have. Everybody say peace.
Peace.
Thank you guys so much, man. I had a blast. It's nice.
Oh, man.
Thank you.